Hey guys, let's talk about JJK Modulo Chapter 20. Today I'll be going over the chapter and I'll be talking about some theories or future possibilities at the end, so stick around for the review or skip ahead for the theories. The chapter starts with Mino calling out to Yuji as Yuji realizes he's been caught, but then Osuki comes crashing out of the building trying to hit Yuji with a giant overhead attack with his axe. Yuji catches this attack, and the force causes the ground under him to shatter, but Yuji stands there completely unfazed. We then get a close-up of Yuji's hand holding the axe, and we can see that he's using Shrine in the same way Sukuna did to catch Yuta's blade in chapter 249, which was stated that he was using minuscule cutting attacks like a chainsaw to catch the katana without touching it. Osuki notices this, and is quite alarmed, thinking to himself that he's an earthling, but that his aura is that of a Kallian, which a lot of people, including myself, had theorized prior to this chapter coming out. Yuji then cracks his knuckles, claiming that Osuki looks pretty tough as he pulls back his fist, which is now engulfed in cursed energy. While this is happening, Mino points out the precision of his cursed energy, and how he couldn't notice it at all until it was in his fist. When we learned about cursed energy, it's stated that it starts in the stomach, and especially for beginners, it's a good way to think of building it up. But it just shows how far Yuji has come and how good he is at controlling his cursed energy. Osuki then looks worried as he probably realizes how cooked he really is, as Yuji finishes his sentence, telling him he's sure he'll be fine. Yuji then smokes him with a black flash, telling him he won't die. This is crazy to see that Yuji can actually use black flash at will, now truly putting him in a league of his own, being the first person in history to be able to do so, really living up to the claims in the original JJK that he was blessed by the sparks of black. Osuki is then seen ping-ponging back and forth between buildings and then crashing into the ground knocked out. This was great to see more of Yuji's power, but also is kind of a feat for Osuki being able to tank something like this, especially from Yuji in this time period. Yuji then calls out to Mino as he squirts a little bit of blood at him, which scratches his cheek, causing him to throw up, as Yuji tells him about the knocked out aliens and sorcerers in the building, saying that they'll be fine and they only need a couple of days rest. This is because of his genetics, as part curse, his blood has a toxic, almost poisonous trait to it. As Mino is foaming out the mouth, he angrily yells at Yuji, asking him what he's doing. Yuji says a funny little comment back to him, saying that it would have looked bad if he just knocked out the aliens, but obviously that's not what Mino meant, as he goes on to complain that since he didn't take the fight against Tabura, that Yuka had to, but Yuji just tells him that it doesn't matter. Mino questions him about it, and Yuji says who even cares about Yuji Itadori anymore, causing Mino to be a little confused. Yuji then quotes Douglas MacArthur from his speech in 1951, saying old soldiers never die, they just fade away, which is taken from a popular barracks song, often sung by soldiers to describe veterans who fade away from active service, living a quiet life instead of dying on the battlefield, and then tells Mino not to worry, that he will take care of the cursed spirits that leak out, and also that if Akotsu's grandkid loses, he'll clean up that mess as well. Yuji has seen what can happen when everyone relies on one pillar of strength to get them through any hard time, like what happened with Gojo, and he knows that each generation will need to step up and prove themselves while solving their own problems, or they won't be able to grow, instead staying stagnant, hoping that the strongest of that time will be there to save them. But with situations like the Shibuya incident, where we see Gojo sealed, shit kinda hits the fan, as we see the Jujutsu higher-ups make moves they wouldn't have when Gojo was around, and curses try to take advantage of the now unbalanced Jujutsu society. Yuji has seen this, and that could definitely be a reason why he won't be someone that each generation can use as their get-out-of-jail-free card, especially since he's immortal. He knows that growth comes with hardship and that you won't always have someone there to save you, and wants everyone to have to realize that and have to grow to maintain peace in an active society. Even saying this, Yuji obviously doesn't want the world to be ruined, so that's why he will still clean up the messes, but also why he won't let anyone interfere with either one of the current 1v1 matchups going on. Mino tells Yuji that he won't forget Yuji, and that he won't forgive him either, to which Yuji responds with a little chuckle and saying that it won't be so lonely then, just telling us in words that Yuji is feeling not only the loneliness of being immortal and outliving everyone he cares for, but also the loneliness of being the strongest. The final thing Yuji says before we swap back to Deborah vs Mahoraga is, "This is for the best, isn't it, sensei?" This is touching on how Gojo left the weight of the Jujutsu world to his students in the next generation, which Yuji has had to bear all by himself. Now, with us being back with Deborah and Maharaga, we start with Deborah going through the concept of reverse curse technique in his head, which is to multiply the negative energy with itself, resulting in a positive energy which gave him explosive, heightened healing power. And he starts wondering what would happen if he applied the same idea to a cursed technique instead of just cursed energy. Something to keep in mind is that Gojo is referred to as a prodigy or genius in the Jujutsu world, and it took him nearly dying to finally grasp the idea of RCT and technique reversal, and this is with him being told about it beforehand and trying to figure it out for a while, with people helping him, whereas Deborah had never heard of anything of the sort before. He almost instantly figured out RCT and technique reversal with only hearing about the idea of healing with cursed energy, and feeling a different type of energy from Maharaga's blade. And who's to even say they have math in his people's society, so the idea of two negatives making a positive would probably also be a foreign idea to him, just showing truly how much of a genius he is with cursed energy. This could be a little foreshadowing for a possible fight between Yuji and Deborah, because Yuji is just so far ahead of everyone else that he will most likely be used as a blueprint or teacher for Deborah, who has been shown to have what seems to be the fastest adaptation for using cursed energy, and will be able to learn years worth of Jujutsu from Yuji in probably minutes. That's if Yuji lets him survive that long in this hypothetical 1v1, to which if Gege wants Yuji to survive, he'll have to show how far he's really come and how much of a monster he was truly created to be. But back to the fight, we see Deborah applying what he's learned to his light technique, creating what seems to be a ball of darkness, as he asks what this technique would be called on Earth, while looking like he's enjoying himself. We then have the narrator telling us that Deborah once again has a chance at victory, as Deborah starts thinking to himself how he has to defeat him in one attack before he can adapt. But he has also never used this attack before, so he also asks himself, how does he do it? We are then left on a cliffhanger for their fight as we switch back to Tsurugi versus Maru. As we see the two of them exchanging blows in hand-to-hand combat, it seems as if Maru uses some sort of ice attack or maybe hardens the rubble around Tsurugi to try get a clean shot in, but the power he holds, especially being merged with Rika at that moment, allows him to punch through it and then hit Maru, pushing him back as they gain a little separation. Then squeezing his hand a couple times, maybe in a beckoning motion, Tsurugi calls out to Rika, who seems to be on the same page, and replies saying, sure, why not? Personally, I like a little nastiness, as he touches the ground, reaching into the shadows, pulling out the split soul katana, making Maru worried and questioning what that katana is, and wondering what he's trying to do. Rika tells him to swing as hard as he can, and that she'll give him the strength. As he's getting ready to attack, Maru is then distracted by the giant swarm of cursed spirits headed their way. He realizes that they are headed their way fast because they are afraid of Deborah and the calamity that he is, as he tries to get Tsurugi to stay back. This is probably because there's still feelings of friendship there, or he's worried that they'll interfere with the fight. Next we see Yuji pointing out how bad of a job they did guiding the cursed spirits, and how they probably underestimated the amount of spirits there would be without the great purification, but he also says he can't blame them since it's never happened before. Then we see Tsurugi still ready to launch an attack, and with no chance or hand signs, we see Yuji send out a dismantle that takes out all the cursed spirits and destroys buildings. The power we see behind this dismantle, with what seems to be minimal effort, is insane, and unlike anything we've seen, especially from Yuji's previous use of Shrine with the scissor outlines in his fight with Sukuna. Now in the final panel on that page, I've seen people try and say that one of the explosions is from the dismantle, and one is from the swing of the sword from Tsurugi, but it looks like he's still in the same stance and yet to attack. I've also seen people debating whether the clouds of destruction are almost like an explosion from the cleave itself destroying everything, or if it was the smoke coming off the cursed spirits that were killed from it. I believe it's a mix of both, with it mainly being the smoke from the killed cursed spirits. Next we see the anguish that Maru is going through from all these cursed spirits dying near him as Tsurugi launches his attack, but Maru is still able to lock in and react quickly to defend himself by using some of the rubble nearby as a shield. This still isn't enough to fully block it, as we see the attack is still able to get to him, slicing the rock in half, but Tsurugi says it's still too shallow as Maru regains his weapon. Now with Maru rearmed and ready to fight, he tells Tsurugi to bring it on, as he thinks to himself that they have to settle this right now. Now we come to the final pages, as Tsurugi thanks Rika and she wishes him good luck, as the mask of Rika falls to the ground. Maru is shocked that he released the transformation, as he realizes his cursed energy is fading. With this, we see Tsurugi ready to end it, as he then blitzes Maru. The narrator mentions that Tsurugi used a binding vow to release his power with Rika to become even faster. Next, we just see what seems to be a blood splatter on a nearby sign on the final panel, leaving us with nothing but assumptions until the next chapter. Now onto the theory portion of this video. I'll start with one that relates to the end of this chapter. This final panel could be the end of their fight, or even Maru's life, but the sign says no U-turns. This no U-turn sign could be a representation of the end of the relationship with Maru and Tsurugi and it never being the same, or even the relationship with the aliens and humans never being the same if he did fatally harm Maru, being no turning back now. Another theory that I have come up with is that Deborah could realize that his new darkness attack he has from technique reversal is slow but powerful, making it harder to land a hit, especially in a high level fight like this. So I think he could use his light technique amplification on his body alongside his newly discovered RCT to get him close while not destroying his body, allowing him to close the distance and use his new attack on Mahoraga. His new darkness attack might act like a black hole, swallowing everything in its way, or everything that it makes contact with, which could end up being the key to one-shotting Mahoraga, putting an end to this intense battle. The next theory I have this week is the possibility of Tsurugi's binding vow being to get rid of Rika's power entirely, allowing him to gain this boost in speed, or maybe even allowing him to have a fully realized heavenly restriction. But the binding vow could also have been to make him stop using Rika's power before the limit was up in order to gain this boost in speed and try and finish the fight right then and there. The final theory I have at the moment is in regard to what could have come next, with it looking like both fights could be over next chapter. I think if Maru is seriously injured and Deborah finishes off Mahoraga and Yuka in the process, Yuji will probably end up having to fight Deborah or at least subdue him for now. But once word of Maru being killed or injured, and Deborah being dealt with or engaging in another fight reaches the rest of them, a war or invasion might follow, causing Yuji to have to put his true strength and knowledge he's gained over these years to the test and either try and de-escalate the situation or defend Earth and erase the aliens, because neither side will be happy with the events. The humans won't like Yuka dying, and the aliens won't like someone else going after Deborah. This has been a great chapter with some awesome and intense moments, leaving so much more to be seen, which I can't wait for. But I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Please leave a like and subscribe for more. Let me know what your thoughts and opinions are in the comments, and I hope you all have a great day.